Dr. Hita Priya Suprayitno, Dr. Sasli Lily Whisker, Dr. Eric Cohen, Dr. Ankit Katrodia, and Gilbert C. Moglo, Junior PhD. The Honorable Mr. and Mrs. Presenters, lecturers, guests, fellow students, and also ladies and gentlemen. I am Nikomang Urip Krisnadewi, the MC for today's conference. I'm very pleased and honored to be here. First of all, I would like to welcome you all to this prestigious conference, the 2021 International Conference of Project Management, ICPM, held by the Association of International Business and Professional Management, AIBPM, and supported by Universitas Mahasaraswati Denpasar, Universitas Jember, Universitas Brawijaya, Universitas Kairun, Universitas Samratulangi, and Universitas Muhammadiyah Sumatera Utara. In this occasion, we shall have outstanding presentation from our prominent speakers, whom I believe shall enrich our insight and also knowledge regarding to the theme of this conference, the global development on environmental, education, economic, and socio-cultural sustainability. Ladies and gentlemen, now I would like to invite you to listen to the Indonesian National Anthem, Indonesia Raya. To all participants, please stand up. Thank you. For all participants, please sit down. Ladies and gentlemen, before the conference begins, I would like to show you about AIBPM profiles and also Universitas Mahasaraswati Denpasar profiles.
I'm from Uzbekistan and I'm a student of University Mahasaraswati Denpasar, and I'm happy to study in this university.
My name is Kasim Fadumajid. I study here for a long time, and if I want to say about every good kind and every good event that happened to me, it will take a long hour. Let's join us. Let's join.
FPB Unmas Denpasar. Jaya, jaya, jaya. FPB One Love Peace. Jaya, jaya, jaya.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to ask Ira Christiana to give the speech on behalf of the AIBPM.
The Honorable Distinguished Guests, the Honorable Keynote Speakers, Dr. Ankit Katrodia from Northwest University, South Africa, Dr. Sasli Liliwiskas from Wellington Institute of Technology, New Zealand, Prof. John Walsh from Griffith University, Thailand, Dr. Eric Cohen from State University of Campinas, Brazil, Dr. Rita Priya Supraitno from Institute Technology, 10 November, Indonesia, Dr. Gilbert Simankulot, JR, from Kapayan State University, Philippines, all the committee and our co-host representative and honorable guests, Mr. and Madam Speakers. Before I open this conference, I have to extend further thanks to our co-host institution, who greatly helped in organizing the conference, Mahasiswa Saraswati University, Universitas Brawijaya, Universitas Negeri Malang, Universitas Indonesia, Universitas Negeri Jember, Universitas Kairo, Universitas Muhammadiyah Sumatera Utara, Universitas Teknologi Bandung, Universitas Samratulangi, Horizon Publisher, and many universities and representatives that I cannot mention one by one. I wish also thanks our patron, individual, and organization partners, and volunteers from Universitas Mahasiswa. Without their generosity, we would not able to create a total environment to support your full participation. We are now together witnessing the opening of the 2021 Bali ICPM conference, which has received generosity support from many partners, from many countries, and from the Indonesia, and taken us 6 months of intensive preparation. I extend to all our warmest welcome, especially to those who travel long distance to the lovely island, Bali. It is our privilege and honor to welcome all you to travel from far away and visit Bali. This year, we conduct the conference by hybrid system that allows presenters to do the online presentation and come to the conference. This is one of the conference in Indonesia which conduct this system. Indeed, it needs a bigger effort, equipment, and also support from the committee. Totally, this conference has around 250 participants, both online and offline, and considered the COVID-19 pandemic, then we strengthened the protocol and limited the number of offline participants. We hope this kind of event can be held every year in Bali and other cities in Indonesia. We also happy to announce that IBPM chapter has been established in India, Hong Kong, and Malaysia. So we can have a solid partnership and event in these countries for future plan. We have a big hope that the IBPM chapter will be established in many cities in Indonesia and overseas. The IBPM chapter will work with the local institution in publication, social development, entrepreneurship, and professional development. This year, IBPM has held publication in international journals, more than 100 papers to international journals, 15 papers to national journals, 36 papers to Scopus journals, and 1 international book. We also have an agreement for have a joint journal and conference operation with our university partners in Indonesia. I also would like to inform that in 2022, we will have partnership with some universities to conduct international conference and collaborative international training. So, we welcome you to take the opportunities to join the program. The information is the IBPM website, and I welcome for all of you to join this conference. Thank you all for your presence and participation, and you are very important part of the conference success. Thank you and enjoy the conference and your stay in Bali. Aira Christiana, Head of Committee of 2021 Bali ICPM. Thank you very much.
Dr. Rudras Pandey from ABES Engineering College, India.
Namaste. My name is Dr. Rudresh Pandey. I am the Country Director, AIBPM India. I welcome you all to 2021 Bali ICPM. I welcome all the presenters, participants, industry partners, partner academic institutions, and esteemed speakers. I congratulate all the presenters who are going to present their research in this conference. Let me briefly introduce you to AIBPM India. We started around 3 years back with just 8 students for Nusantara project. Today, we get hundreds of students for this project. So if you are from India, I welcome you to be part of AIBPM. We will help you in international collaborations, international research, international faculty or student exchange, international journal publications, and international courses, which we are very soon going to launch in India. If you're from outside India, I welcome you to be part of AIBPM India and be part of India success story. Again, I welcome you to 2021 Bali ICPM. I hope you will have a very good time and enjoy this conference. Thank you.
Dean of Faculty of Economic and Business, Universitas Mahasaraswati Denpasar, Dr. Putu Kepramarini, SAMM. For Dr. Putu Kepramarini, SAMM, the time is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable, the President of AIBPM, the Honorable keynote speakers, the honorable co-hosts of this conference, and the honorable all the participants of this conference. First of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the Almighty God for His blessing that we can gather here to attend this conference. Thank you for all speakers and participants who are able to attend this conference. My name is Putu Kepramareni. My name is from Universitas Maha Saraswati Denpasar as one of the co-hosts of this conference. It is such an honor for me to speak on behalf of the organizers. I would like to welcome all the speakers and participants in 2021 Bali International Conference of Project Management, or ICPM, a hybrid conference that combining a hybrid conference that combine the in-person and virtual experience. I also would like to express my appreciation to all committees to organize this conference. This conference is a prestigious event organized with a motivation to provide an excellent international platform for the academicians, researchers, industrial participants, and budding students around the world to share their research findings with the international business experts. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, that is all the speech that I can deliver. Thank you very much for your participation, and we are humbly asking for your apology if during the process of this welcoming event, there is something inconvenience. I will hand over it to MC. Thank you for your nice attention.
Professor Isti Fada from Universitas Jember. For Professor Isti, the time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. The Honorable, the President of ICPM, the Honorable all of the university, and all of distinguished participants. Alhamdulillah, and thank you for inviting us to join and contribute to this great conference. We hope through support our contribution, all of us able to improve our experience through the collaboration as well as in the research or in other academic area. Well, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully this conference can bring us to the better world. Lastly, have a nice conference and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
The representative of Universitas Brawijaya, Sylvie Asna Prestianawati. For Miss Sylvie, the time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The President of AIBPM and all distinguished participants, on behalf of the Dean of Economic and Business Universitas Brawijaya, we would like to say thank you very much for inviting us to be the co-host of this prestigious conference. And ladies and gentlemen, as we know that today we face global pandemics and all people surviving and struggling to survive the normal life. And as the researchers, lecturers, and social agent of change, we must unite our hand to get this pandemic away and having the normal life as before. Lastly, congratulations for AIBPM for the good contribution in this middle of world problem by conducting this conference, and have a nice conference, everyone. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Dr. Johan Fahri from Universitas Kairun to deliver the opening remarks.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim. I should thank to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala for His blessing and opportunity. So I and all of us can attend this conference, this international conference on project management again here in Denpasar, Bali, toward the end of 2021. I would like to honor the president of IBPM. It's so nice to meet you again, Pak Michael and Bu Ira here, and all the crew from Malang, the honorable keynote speakers and guests and other speakers. We all know that we are now still in a challenging time. However, though, I and my colleague, including our dean, our Dean of the Faculty of Economics and Business, Dr. Abdullah here. We are very happy and excited to be here and joining the conference. We can see some new faces, and so do you to us. We hope that we can share our experiences and story throughout the conference. We are here now, 6 people presenting our papers from various studies. We want to disseminate our latest findings, hoping your input and some enlightenments. I hope we all will have a wonderful and thoughtful time throughout the day. Enjoy the conference, and don't forget, enjoy Bali. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning.
Thank you so much for representative for the speech and also for the support for this conference. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start the presentation, we would like to invite the representative of our co-host to come forward and receive a placard and certificate because of their huge contribution, so that the 2021 Bali ICPM can be held today. Please come to the stage, Dr. Putu Kepramarini, SAMM, from Universitas Mahasaraswati, Denpasar. Please come to the stage, Professor Istifada from Universitas Jember. Please open the mask to take a photo. Okay. Please come to the stage, Sylvie Asna Prestianawati from Universitas Brawijaya. Please come to the stage, Dr. Johan Fahri from Universitas Kairun. Okay. Bapak Abdullah Jafri. Please open the mask to take a picture. To all the participants and also the representative that received the placard, please take a picture. Stand up to the in front of the stage. To all the participants. To all, the first one is the representative that received the placard and also the certificate. Please, for the representative, open the mask for a while to take a picture. To all the representative of, oh yeah, to all the representative, please stand up in front of the participant. For the participant, please stand up. Please stand up.
Terintegrasi. Artinya bahwa
Thank you for all the representative and also participant. Please sit down. At long last, ladies and gentlemen, this is a time for me to introduce the keynote speakers today's conference. Our keynote speakers are
ada banyak permasalahan.
Prof. John Walls, Kirk University, Thailand.
Dengan terintegrasi, maka masalah pupuk paling tidak itu akan
Good morning. Well, Madam President, distinguished guests, colleagues of all sorts, good morning. I hope that you're all well and enjoying the beautiful island of Bali. I did have the pleasure of visiting some.
Number 4, Dr. Eric Cohen, State University of Campinas, Brazil. Number 5, Dr. Ankit Katrodia, Northwest University, South Africa. Number 6, Gilbert C. Mogulo, Junior PhD, Cagayan State University, Philippines. In order to start the conference, please welcome our moderators today, Kadek Indah Kusuma Dewi and Niluh Nyoman Serina Devi. Kadek Indah Kusuma Dewi received her Bachelor of Accounting in 2016 from Udayana University and Master of Accounting in 2018 from Brawijaya University for research topic concerning in publication of financial statement. She has lived and worked in Denpasar. She had taught as a lecturer at Faculty of Economic and Business, Mahasaraswati University, Denpasar. She is also as a senior auditor at public accounting firm Ketut Mulyarta. She has published some articles in local and international journals and also involved in local and international conferences. Niluh Nyoman Serina Devi received her bachelor degree in accounting from Udayana University in 2013. Finished professional accountant program from Udayana University in 2016 and earned her master degree in accounting from Udayana University in 2018. Her thesis concerning the application of Utah model to understand the behavior of technology usage in accounting system information users at university departments. She lives in Denpasar and worked as a lecturer at Accounting Department, Faculty Economic and Business, Mahasaraswati University, Denpasar. She is also worked as an assistant professor at Udayana University and a part of editorial team for Journal of Accounting Research Juara, a scientific journal that published by the Accounting Department, Faculty of Economic and Business, Mahasaraswati University, Denpasar. Kadek Indah Kusuma Dewi and Niluh Nyoman Serina Devi, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Komang Urip Krishna Dewi. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Niluh Nyoman Serina Devi, and today I'm here with my partner, Kadek Indah Kusuma Dewi. We will be the moderator for today's conference. First thing first, I will announce the rules and the presentation time before I start to introduce the keynote speakers. Today we have 6 keynote speakers, thus our time is limited. The conference rules are: number 1, all online participants will be muted during the presentation, and for those who are here, please make sure to put your phone on silent mode. 2, there will be a Q&A session after keynote speakers finish their presentations. And number 3, the moderator has the authority to choose who will deliver the questions or suggestions. Before I start, I would like to inform you that each keynote speaker has 20 minutes to present their slides and the question and answer session will be done after the presentation session. Next, Indah will introduce our first keynote speaker.
Okay, thank you, Sherina. Our first speaker is Professor John Weiss. John Weiss received his doctorate from Oxford University in 1997 for a thesis concerning international market entry strategy and the success of UK firms in Korea, Japan, and Taiwan. He has lived and worked in Sudan, Greece, Korea, Australia, the United Arab Emirates, Thailand, and since 2018 in Vietnam, as well as his native UK. He has also taught courses at undergraduate, graduate, and PhD level in a number of countries and lead the campus at Mandalao and Kathmandu for a previous position, during which time he has taught courses in international business, marketing, management, entrepreneurialism, human research, finance, and others. He has graduated more than 20 students to doctoral level and helped students achieve scholarship and funded workshop trips to Singapore, China, Hong Kong, Cambodia, and others. As Research Center Director, he achieved research funding from a range of international partners, including UNCTAD, GIZ, Ministry of Industry, the World Bank, and others. He has also organized and hosted a number of international conferences and edited several academic journals, as well as acting as regional editor in Southeast Asia for Emirates Emerging Market Case Studies series. Okay, Professor John, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you. So, Madam President, distinguished guests, all colleagues and participants, good morning. I hope that you are all well and enjoying the beautiful island of Bali. I did have the pleasure of visiting Bali some years ago, and hopefully I'll be able to do that again in the future, and we'll have chance to meet each other face to face. Until that time, let us conduct this online, and we have the technology to thank for this. Only a couple of years ago, it would have seemed impossible for me to imagine that we could have been joining so many countries together at the same time. Okay, so to begin with, let me thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity to speak to you here this morning. My name is John Walsh. I am now the Associate Dean and Director of the English Language Programs at the International College of Kruk University here in Thailand. And as you may have heard, I've had the opportunity to live and work in a number of other countries. One of the questions that we are asking ourselves these days is, first of all, is the pandemic ever going to finish? Are we going to defeat it? And if so, will we achieve a new normal? Is there something that we can get back to how we would consider normality to be? And if so, what will that new normal look like? And so today I want to consider one aspect of the new normality which I see approaching and which has already begun, which is deglobalization. And then I'll connect that with the issue of sustainability towards the end of the presentation. So deglobalization is the opposite of globalization. It results from capitalism. And as we know, capitalism involves the ceaseless accumulation of capital. And as such, it is environmentally unsustainable. In the past, when human endeavor was dangerous for the world, but still could be contained within the world system, then capitalism could be allowed to thrive. But as we see now, climate change becoming ever more serious, as witnessed by forest fires, by out of control epidemics, by all kinds of terrible natural disasters, the time has long come to take action and to try to think about how can we limit these impacts and possibly reverse them so that future generations can have the opportunity to visit countries as beautiful as Bali is. Capitalism is uneven. It develops from uneven development around the world because of the uneven distribution of resources, both natural resources and human resources. And once capitalism is fixed in one place, and then the capacity for profits declines, we then find that people will move their activities overseas as a form of spatial fix. As a result, we have the new international division of labor, which means that people in the global north are more involved in managerial positions and service sector activities, while people in the global south are offered the opportunity to work in manufacturing and assembly. And with the division of people into different places, into different classes and different castes, this has a detrimental effect, or can have a detrimental effect, on not only solidarity among people internationally, but upon the ability of workers to claim better wages and salaries for their activities. Under the Trump administration, which we will all remember, I'm sure, deglobalization began with American disengagement from Asia. And I used to work in RMIT in Hanoi campus, and I was there when Trump met Kim Jong-un. You might recall the meeting with North Korea and America, the very brief meeting. I can hear somebody else speaking, but that's not me. I'll continue. Anyway, I was saying that partly it was because of Trump's failure to achieve anything with Kim Jong-un that led to the disengagement from Asia of America, and that seems to be continuing under the Biden administration. And I think it's part of a long-term to reconfigure the relations between America and the rest of the world. And it's one aspect of deglobalization that is part of a political strand which has both positive and negative elements. The negative elements surround the issue of nationalism, and we see across Europe and in my own country, Britain, nationalism has been expressed in the form of leaving the European Union and the rise of racism and racist discourse in the political mainstream, and the rise of violence against minority people and so forth. And this is one very negative aspect of deglobalization that is part of the political aspiration. There is a more positive side, and the more positive side is expressed by Walden Bello when he says that deglobalization is not so much about withdrawing from the world economy, it's about reconfiguring our relationship to it and our the way in which we relate to other people and to the other economies around the world. Currently, under the capitalist system, we have a very unequal system. Inequality is becoming ever greater a problem. I mean, here in Thailand, where I live, Thailand is now one of the most unequal countries in the world. We can see how very poor many people are in comparison to the enormous wealth that a small number of people are able to deploy. And this leads to social tension, and it also leads to lowered health outcomes, right? People who suffer from stress, and stress is caused by the constant awareness of inequality. Those people can suffer anxiety, heart disease, and so forth. And we have seen in Western countries like the USA that people in low-income jobs or in low-income lifestyles die more quickly, often from heart disease and so forth, which is attributable to inequality in itself. So deglobalization can arise from political reasons, and it can also arise from environmental reasons. I think we're all aware increasingly that we have seen pictures from the very deepest part of the oceans and all aspects of the world, from the Antarctica to the top of Everest, and wherever we go, we are confronted with plastic bags and plastic waste, and the evidence of unwanted goods which are going to last in the environment for a considerable period of time. We add this to the problem of global climate change, the rising ocean levels, the reduced amount of ice, and the increased threat of earthquakes that is providing. And we can see that there is an urgent need to take action to ensure that the environment can be sustained into the future. One means of doing that is by doing less. and doing less means consuming less and therefore using less energy. There is a negative and a positive side to this as well. If we insist on people having less and doing less, then this is not a way that we would want people to treat us. So what gives us the right to treat other people that way? But there is also a more positive element where people like to focus on localism and local consumption and local production. I remember when I was young in England, we had very few international products, and the supermarkets were kind of a boring place, and there wasn't much to buy apart from, there were some seasonal fruits and vegetables. We had peas, we had potatoes and some apples, and that was more or less it. Now we are blessed in British supermarkets with the produce of around the world. So baby sweet corn and exotic fish and bean sprouts and things we could never have imagined being able to enjoy in the past are now everywhere. And yet we, I think, occasionally think to ourselves, oh, what is the environmental cost of me in a British supermarket being able to buy baby sweet corn all the year round? And the price is, when we think about it, the price is too high in terms of carbon usage and so forth. However, at the moment, as a result of the pandemic, we have a slowdown in supply chains and value chains around the world, and this is manifested in various countries in shortages in shops because the shipping system has become kind of deranged. I remember when I was moving from Vietnam to Thailand, I had a few boxes of books and so on that I wanted to be shipped from Vietnam, and it took ages and ages and cost a fortune because there were not containers available, because they're all still stuck around the Suez Canal and other parts of the world where they're unable to fulfill their schedules. I note that the shipping industry internationally has kind of started to lead the way in recognizing that although supply chains must be fulfilled, right, people have contracts to fulfill these things, that the shipping companies are moving away from the just-in-time model that we have been teaching to students, right, that just-in-time is the efficient way of doing things, and realizing that it's inefficient when just-in-time cannot be met because of this derangement of the global shipping industry. And so companies are moving towards more long-term relationships and long-term contracts and building up some inventory so as to overcome the supply chain issues. So where the shipping industry leads, presumably others will follow. And in Britain, we have the particular problem of the Brexit, the exit from the European Union, which means that it is now hugely more expensive to import and export goods to and from Europe. And so as a result, we have empty supermarkets, and we have empty petrol stations and so on. And this is a problem which is going to be felt around the world. Okay, moving more directly to the issue of sustainability, and I'm trying to find the time, make sure I don't overstep my mark. We are all familiar with the concept of sustainable development as recognizing that development and economic development is necessary worldwide, and yet we don't want to jeopardize the ability of our future generations to be able to participate in it. And so we recognize the need to make a balance between consumption of resources today and the preservation of those resources into the future. And so we look at, having recognized the need to do disentanglement of globalization, we then start to think of, well, how can this be done? Right? What can be done to reduce it, to go to a form of slowbalization, if you like, which is globalization at a slower pace, and then to say, well, in practical terms, how can we do this without plunging the world into chaos and empty supermarkets, all that kind of thing, which if people see it, they will not like it, and so they will stop it happening in the future, and we will not be able to achieve, right, the deglobalization that we would like to see on a logical basis for sustainable environmental purposes. So we must recognize that the long and complex supply chains are not going to be disentangled overnight, and indeed we global north people have a responsibility to people in the global south to maintain them, having presented countries with the necessity of being part of this capitalist, international capitalist system, we cannot abandon them and say, well, we don't want you to make stuff anymore. So what the question will be, how can we simplify supply chains, and how can we think about adding value at each stage, while also sorry, there's a disturbance outside. I'll continue. So how can we manage just-in-time management with cross-border activities and with a minimum but still an acceptable level of inventory? And what can we do about value chains that is maximizing the value of each stage while also minimizing the possibility that there will be corruption between the different stages? And so when we come to localization, the thought that we will produce and consume items within usually it's 15 minutes or 30 kilometers of where we are living. The benefit of this is to promote resilience to local communities. If you are living, you're fortunate enough to be living in Bali or another beautiful island of Indonesia like this, then within 30 kilometers of where you live, you can find a great deal of very good food and healthy lifestyle. And so localization is not such a bad thing. If, like me, you come from England and 30 kilometers around you there's only potatoes and some animals, right, then the thought is our diets are not going to be so good, and so we must invest more in the greenhouse technology and so forth, so we can actually grow some vegetables and fruit in order to make this possible. Because people, having been exposed to the possibility of internationalized diet from around the world, are not going to be willing to give this up easily. And since we come from a democratic country, if people have the opportunity to vote against something which they don't like, well, then they're fairly certain to do so. So it's necessary to do these things on a systematic basis by raising local competence and local technology to ensure that we can produce what is needed before people become unhappy with it. We're going to get huge changes in society as a result of climate change, right? We already are seeing climate change refugees around the world suffering and trying to find places where they can live more sustainably. And we need stability in other conditions in order to try to manage that. I mean, I fear the worst, frankly, but we hope the same. So in daily life, I think I'm going to stop with this one because I'm sure I've run out of time. We have, as this conference will demonstrate, right, global connectivity, internet connectivity can replace a great deal of what we used to think was necessary to do face-to-face. And by using this technology, we can decarbonize a lot of the activities that we had on a day-to-day basis. So all the carbon that would have been spent on us flying to join together in Bali, at least that has been saved. And, you know, although it's not perfect, it's not ideal that we have to meet in this way, at least we can meet in this way, right? And we can still interact with each other and learn from each other. So the rational decarbonization is something that we will need to produce. I think we will be aided and abetted by this, by my understanding that within 10, 20 years, people will understand on a large scale how very similar we humans are to animals, and there will be much less willingness to eat meat when people realize, you know, there's really not such a difference between us and animals, and it's, you know, it's not really fair that we should be eating them rather than them eating us. Okay, so I believe that at the end of the session, there's going to be a chance for questions and comments, and so I'll be happy to wait for that. In the meantime, let me say once again, thank you very much for your attention, and thank you to the organizers for giving me this opportunity. And so thank you very much, and goodbye for now.
Well, thank you for Professor John for the explanation about the globalization and sustainability. And we're gonna next to the second keynote speakers. But before that, if there is question from offline audience, you can ask by raise your hand. And for online audience, you can use Q&A tab. Okay, thank you. And now we're gonna next to the second keynote speaker, because the Q&A session in after all of the keynote speakers presented their presentation. And now for the second keynote speakers, Dr. Hitapriya Suprayitno.
Can my voice be heard there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Before you start, I want to introduce your
okay, please.
your short profile.
Yeah, please.
Dr. Hitapriya Suprayitno was born and raised in Yogyakarta. He got higher education in civil engineering with specialty in transportation engineering and planning. Later on, he deepened his knowledge in infrastructure, asset management, and management. He founded and managed a scientific journal, AIBPM, or Journal of Infrastructure and Facility Asset Management, since 3 years ago. He and the team organized annual SEMAIF, National Seminar on Infrastructure and Facility Asset Management, since 2 years ago. Meanwhile, he has experiences in conducting study projects in transportation and infrastructure management. Dr. Hitapriya, the time is yours.
Thank you very much, Honorable President of AIBPM and all of the audience. Thank you for the occasion given to me to present my presentation. My presentation a bit, excuse me, wait a minute. My presentation is a bit different from the others since is my slide can be seen? Okay. Well, I learned that all of the presenters are from business background, while I'm from engineering background. I myself is basically civil engineers, but now I go to infrastructure asset management, still also with the business aspect of the asset management. I was asked to present something about sustainability. Since until now, I'm interested now with infrastructure asset management. So I will try to present a reflection on sustainability for national roads. It's quite different from what Professor John was presents. I think it is very important because sustainability for national roads is something very complex. Sustainability has become a sacred mantra now. Everybody talk about sustainability. Everybody say about sustainability. The word has been well formulated by the Europeans since circa 1990s. Sustainability is related to environmental, social, and economical aspects. That's what Europeans say. But formulating the sustainability word into a real problem, real fact is not easy. It's a complex thing. And thinking about sustainability or implementing sustainability work into national roads is again not easy at all. We have to derive everything there. We have to derive what is sustainability and what is environment, social, and economical. The sustainability aspect for national road, it can be for any road, but I will try to discuss only for national road. Sustainability for national road must be considered into sustainability related to road condition and surrounding condition, because the road condition can be so bad like this, and it can deteriorate the sustainability. And as the World Bank say, sustainability consists of 3 aspects: environmental, social, and economical aspect. But for my view, the road sustainability must be added also road function sustainability. So now we have four aspects of sustainability: the road function, environmental aspect, and social aspect, economical aspect. And again, on the context of the road infrastructures, we have to consider the road segment. This is the road segment, and we have also to consider road network. Road network must be sustainable enough, and each of the road segment must be also sustainable in fact. Sustainable enough. And the sustainability for the road network and the road segment can be different each other. We try now to see what is each of these. Road network. I have said that the most important of the road network is planned, designed, and built for to be able to function well. That is what the sustainability is on the road. The first sustainability on the road is that the road must be well functioned. And what is the basic function of the road? I mentioned here too, but there are some, but the most basic road function is to connect different nodes, to flow person and good thing from one, excuse me, I will try to, yeah. And then to flow person and goods from one place to another place. That's the function of the road. So the road must be able to connect and to flow the person and goods. And in Indonesia, the same as I think in different countries, the road networks must be classified into national road or maybe federal road in Australia and in United States, for example, and then the provincial road for us and the local road. The national road, the function is to connect among the central national activities. The national activity can be a port, can be an airport, can be a center of government, provincial government. So the national road, the function of the road, the main function of the national road is to connect among the central national activities. That's to connect. But again, the national road must be able to flow the person and goods from different place to another place. Example of network case, for example. So we have here Surabaya city. Surabaya is the capital of the East Java province. Here we have a big port, the second big port of Indonesia. The first big port is the Tanjung Perak here in Surabaya. It's the second port of Indonesia. And then Medan is the third port of Indonesia. So Surabaya port is a center of national activity. And then we have different cities there, big cities, and etc. We have also different central national activity here, industrial activity here, there, here also, here close to Surabaya, here in Jember, for example. So each of the industrial estate, national center, must be connected to the port. So the national road must connect all of the port. That's the connectivity. So from Kediri, there is a lot of there's a big industry in there, must be connected to the Tanjung Perak port and the others. That's the connectivity. The national road has been done that, so it's good already. But in terms of flowing traffic, it's not always good as that because the national road pass through different cities and certain small cities doesn't have a ring road yet, so the capability of flowing the traffic through different urban area is not yet good. So this must be improved. So in terms of connectivity is good, flowing the traffic, the function of flowing the traffic is not yet well done. That's the sample of the case of network problem. And then sustainability in terms of more small in terms of road segment can be identified. I don't identify one by one in detail, but just take certain example. For example, in terms of road function, environment, social, and economics. Road function. The right of way of the road sometimes is it's not wide enough. So a lot of problem of right of way here. And sometimes certain right of way is used by economic activity by the people. So the function right of way is for flowing the traffic. It is disturbed by people as activity. And the safety and operation of the road. Yeah, we still find in Surabaya, for example, traffic accident is the biggest in Indonesia, so it's not good. Pavement and facility condition. In terms of environment, the road is very important because road is a public space. The land is belong to the government, public. So this is the easiest way for us to do tree planting in Indonesia. So tree planting must be done in the road. Not like in European countries, for example. If we talk about Paris, for example, we have Paris in the outskirts of the Paris. We have two forests there, Bois de Boulogne and Bois de Fontaine. Say, for example, take London. We have several forests in the London itself, but Indonesian cities is not like that. We still need a green area, and we don't have it. So the best way to make a green area for Indonesia is planting the road planting the trees along the road. Okay, and then the social problem. We have a lot of social problem in Indonesia. There are a lot of school facilities built just in front of the national road. This must be efficient. And then market facilities, especially in the area far from the big cities, there are a lot of markets built, operated in front of the national road. It makes a lot of things there. It's disturbance there. There are also medical facilities, maybe polyclinic, maybe a small hospital. It is built directly in front of national road, which is a lot of traffic there. So this is not good. There are again a lot of social problem in the road, but I mentioned only I take an example of these three. And then economics. Economics of the road must be viewed from the point of view of the public fund and the private fund. The public fund is concerning with how much money we need to build the road and to maintain the road and to operate the road. That must be optimized to make it more efficient. And then economy for private fund, mean for business. We have also still problem for the assets and facility for economic activities, and then facilities placed along the road. And this I will explain. Now we come to the reflection on realization of the principle of the sustainability on the road. There are a lot of things there. So sustainability is fast, complex on the roads and deals with several parties. Sometimes it's not with the national road. National road is the responsibility of the central government, but sometimes to organize, to operate the national road, the central government must deal with the different parties, the provincial government and the kabupaten government. And of course, it's not possible to realize all in once. So it must be implemented state by state and different parties to implement. So need prioritization, staging, and define different parties' participation. Now we try to consideration for prioritization consists of 4 aspects: the importance of the road function performance, the task complexity, the complexity of the task, the readiness for the government to deal with the problem, and the staging for realization. This is just priority calculation. I don't try to Well, I try to say to you first. I made several priorities on the different programs that we should do on the road. The first priority, this include right of way, road participation, drainage, national road, that's not good, drainage already, and the others. And there are some others which is not very important and priority. For example, usage for facilities, access to business point, etc. Okay, I will try to explain one by one. Right of way, for example, right of way is the spread of the land strip which is belong to the road. This is not yet well organized in Indonesia. First is that the road area, the road right of way is not yet well certificated in terms of land certification. So sometimes people go forward in its side of the road, and the government difficult to clear that space. So that's first, land certification, and then land use discipline. Also, sometimes along the national road, we build say whatever mall, for example, or big market, which the market spill, the regional market can spill to the road itself. So land use discipline is not yet well. Outside the Greek city, in the villages, for example, government give permission to build school next to the national road. It's dangerous. So the program is this. This need certain regulation and implementation. Road preservation. It is still new for us in Indonesia. Before we have what we think is road maintenance. Road maintenance is a program to maintain the road in good conditions, but that's good at all because the road maintenance is contracted to the contractor, and the contractor work for 1 year, and then after he finish the road maintenance, 3 months after, the road will deteriorate again. So now we change our thinking. Instead of road maintenance, we think about road preservation. So the contractor mandated to maintain that the road is always in good condition. It's not there is a deterioration there, and then this point, and then you have to maintain that. It's not like that. The contract is you are given a certain kilometers of road, and then your duty is to keep that the road segment always in good condition, and the contract normally is 2 years or more. So starting from now, certain road condition is better now, always in good condition. But still something has to be done here. Certain lot of knowledge has to be deepening about unit counts, about deterioration, about prediction of deterioration, etc. The contract itself for the contractor is not based on the in the lump sum value, but based on unit cost. So the deterioration is not appear yet on the beginning of the contract, but it can be predicted that it can be or it cannot be appear such volume. This is still something that we have to learn, that we have to, the knowledge and the science of that has to be developed yet. So a lot of things. Drainage. Indonesia is still underdeveloped countries, and drainage. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, your time, 5 minutes left.
5 minutes left. Okay.
Yeah,
The road drainage system is very important, and the national road normally is not yet equipped with well drainage system. That's all. I think we have a lot of work there in drainage. Road geometry and supporting facilities. We still have a problem in the road in steep hilly area like this, for example. The geometry, the geometry of the roundabout must be well widened. Curve geometry widening, sign and marking, guardrail and drainage also. Still a lot of things has to be done. Access limit to national roads. Yeah, according to road code of Indonesia, the access limit is the access is limited to the national road, but in practice it's not yet well defined. One of the good example of access limit to the national road we can see in Malaysia, for example, the Putrajaya area and the surrounding of Putrajaya, all of the road is already access limit to the national road. For example, in Putrajaya, Putrajaya is divided into 20 areas, and each area has a main road, and all of the residential area in form of what is that? How to say in English? One road only to go into and go out from the residential area. That's good. That's good example of accessibility to national road. It's not like that in Europe because Europe is already old, so every road are connecting each other. I don't know how about in Brazil and Brasilia. I never been there, so it seems very good there. What else? Replantation. Okay, it's very easy. But replantation is also a problem because we have to choose what trees is best for the roadside. And then the national authority can plant the tree, but they don't have ability, they don't have power to maintain the tree in daily life. So the maintaining of the tree must be given to the local authority. Okay, this is also very important. We started to have a problem here, special duct facilities for cable and pipe. I think in developed countries, this already been solved, not for all, but they already there here. Like along the road, we have lots of cable and pipe, water cable, gas power cable, electrical, oh no, water pipe, gas pipe, etc., and fuel pipe, for example, and then electrical cable, and then communication cable, etc. In Indonesia, we don't have it yet regulation to arrange this implementation, this taking for this cable and pipe. So it's better, we think, to start to have a special duct facilities for those cable and pipe. Special facilities in front of school. It is common in England and France. I've been there. I know that, but not common in Indonesia. It's not yet common in Indonesia. So we have to build certain facilities for area in front of school, medical activities, and market. This is market, for example. Market can be spilled into the road. It's not good. The best, it must be like this. So it must be rail here, so that the market activities cannot spill into the road. I think it's that. So the conclusion, there are three conclusions. Sustainability is for road segment and road network. So we have to think differently for road segment and road network. Sustainability aspect on the road, it includes for aspect road function, environmental, social, and economic. And the keyword for us, the developing countries, how to do that? It's just simple for I think. Arrange it neatly, just arrange it neatly, and everything, the aesthetic will come along with this. And also think about right of way, more precise way, about how to place the pipe, the cable, all of the facilities along the road. I think that's my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention to hear my presentation. It's a bit different from the others. The others from the business background, while here is from the infrastructure management background. Thank you very much, and I give the time to the organizer already. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hita. Thank you for your great presentation about national road. And for the Q&A session is we will do after all of the keynote speakers finish their presentation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce our third speaker, Dr. Zazli Lily Whisker.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Zazli Lily Whisker obtained her PhD in marketing from the University of Waikato in 2011. Her thesis examined the impact of sales managers' personality, emotional intelligence, and social networks characteristics on sales performance. Currently, she works as a senior academic at Wellington Institute of Technology, New Zealand. Prior to that, she was an assistant professor at the American University of the Middle East, Kuwait. Her industry experience includes owning a hospitality business and has worked as mobile oil marketing executive in Malaysia. As an academic, she is passionate about teaching, researching, developing curriculum. She is a dedicated, resourceful, and goal-driven academic with a solid commitment to the social and academic growth and development of every learner. Her philosophy in teaching is that every learner is capable of tremendous growth and academic success at personal pace and speed, and she believes the learner's proficiency levels vary. Her research centers around cross-cultural marketing, branding, relationship marketing, advertising, and destination marketing. She has published in several journals listed under Australia Business Dean Council, or ABDC, including in Journal of Product and Brand Management, Marketing Intelligence and Planning, Journal of Hospitality and Tourism Research, and Journal of Islamic Marketing. She is an assistant editor for Journal of Islamic Marketing and an editor for Journal of Halal Service. She is a member of Australian and New Marketing Academy and the Council of Australia Tourism and Hospitality. Dr. Zazli, the time is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for that glorious introduction. Selamat pagi. Assalamualaikum, everybody. Let me just share my screen. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to share the screen now. Yeah, so as the Madam Chairperson has gloriously introduced myself, and yeah, I'm Lily Whisker or Zazli Lily Whisker, and I'm actually talking from New Zealand. So it's a little bit cold here in New Zealand, but we're okay. Now, for today though, I am going to take a slight different stance from Professor Wolf and also Dr. Hitra Priya. I am going to talk about you being a winner. But before I talk about you being a winner, I just like to kind of like bring you to my background so that you understand about my background, you understand about my passions, because my background and my passions define my research. Okay, so let's get to know Lily. Okay, now I was born and raised into a business family from a multicultural background. Actually, my father was an Asian Catholic and my mother was a Javanese Muslim. And I'm married to Robert, and Robert was a Caucasian, is a Caucasian, was an Anglican. In terms, when I was in school, I was a little bit extrovert, yet overweight, inactive, never active in sports. And I was in a science stream, obviously, when I did my studies. Obviously, being born in an Asian family, you have to be a doctor or you have to be a lawyer, and nothing else does not matter, and nothing else is basically a big no-no. Okay. However, I did not like school very much. I did not do well in science stream. I hate physics. Sorry, Professor, Dr. Priya. I hate physics and I hate calculus. I hated calculus so much. So I didn't do well in science stream. In fact, I was consider myself as below average. But I was a little bit lucky because I went to a sort of like an elite school. Nonetheless, about me, about my personality, about my resilience, I'm very goal oriented. I always bounce back from my failure. I'm passionate about what I do, and I'm focused about that. Though obviously I'm quite laid back at times, and I love parties. Who doesn't? Okay, I love parties. Okay, so that's a little bit about me. But let's have a look at the achievement that I had so far. This is not, I'm not trying to market you myself, but I'm just going to bring you back later on into my background, into my passions, and into and what defined me as a researcher. Okay. As the Madam Chairperson mentioned earlier on, I had my qualification, my PhD in marketing in 2011. And similar to Professor Walsh, I also have worked in several countries. I work in Malaysia, I work in Kuwait. Actually, I work in Sharjah, in UAE. I work in Washington, D.C., and I also work in Canberra. So I have lived in several places in the world. My background, I did not just come from a sort of like an academic teaching experience, but I also, had quite a bit of industry experience. I was the marketing executive with Mobil Oil in Malaysia back in early 1990s, late 80s to 1990s. In fact, I was the only woman in the department that did sales. So those days, they're all about salesmen and not salespersons. Okay. At the same time, currently or previously and currently, I'm also a business owner of 3 businesses: early childhood educations, hospitality, and also manufacturing. And last but not least, I am a mother, a proud mom to Natasha, and I'm married to Robert. Okay, so that's a little bit about myself. Okay, now let's have a look at my research specialization. Okay, so you will see that I mentioned earlier on that I came from a multicultural background. That's why I'm so passionate about cross-cultural marketing, and I have published several articles in cross-cultural marketing. Destination marketing, because I moved from one place to another. I'm actually married to an army, and you know how in army we move quite a bit, and that's how I fell in love with destination marketing. And obviously with the branding and relationship marketing, because of being a business owners, that branding is really important. Therefore, I embark a lot of my research embark into branding and also relationship marketing. But today is not about me. Today is about you. Today is about you being a winner. So how can you be a winner? Now, Denzel Washington says that nothing in life is worthwhile until you take risks. Don't be afraid to fail, take chances, explore the opportunity, and more importantly, dream big. Think outside the box. However, you would need to dream with set of goals and objectives. Start small, achieve small, be consistent, and work on your passions. Without consistency, you will never finish. Remember, every failed experience is a step closer to success. And now I'm sure your experiences in school, applying to universities, picking up a major, and deciding what you want to do in life has some element of risk. You might embarrass yourself, you might suck at something, but in the end, you will learn. Don't be afraid to fail because it will lead to success. Now, everyone knows Steve Jobs and the contribution he made to Apple, but not many of us knew his failure. In whatever you do, you would need to be reliable, open to others' views, accept and work on your weaknesses, and able to serve others. Those are the qualities that I look for in the new postgraduate students that I like to supervise. And those were the qualities that I look for when recruiting new employees for my businesses. I don't get my new students to set on the intelligence test and so forth. But I normally look for whether or not they are reliable and open to viewpoints and open to learning new things. Now, let's talk about your research and your passions. So in terms of research, what is it that you like? What are you passionate about? What is your passions? Regardless, you should believe in great research, and if you haven't found a topic area or research interest, keep looking, keep digging, and challenge yourself. More importantly, as I said, if you haven't found it yet, keep looking and don't settle for one. So, how would you do it? Read and read and read. Be aware of the current and hot issues. Talk to your families and friends. Go for a walk. And again, read and read and read. Do your preliminary research and start writing. That's the one thing. You need to start writing. Now let's talk about who are you going to be? How do you plan to live your everyday life? How do you plan to balance your research, work, and lifestyle? How are you going to respond when you don't get the grades you were hoping for? How are you going to respond when you get rejections from your supervisors, conferences, or even journal publications? If your supervisors give you a task to achieve that you feel is too high, these are just the moments that define you. How would you go about it? The time that forces you to work hard, to claw, to scratch and fight, just to get through the day, and the moment when you get knocked down is the one that defines you. How would you respond when you don't get the job that you had your heart set on? These rejections and failures will make you stronger. So do not afraid to fail. More importantly, you have to be focused, determined, hopeful, and empowered. Stop wishing and start doing. Now, skill like resilience and conscientiousness can just be as important as your success in writing your thesis and pass your research methodology paper. If you are willing to dig deep, pick up yourself when you fall, if you are willing to Work through your weaknesses and turn it into strengths. I have no doubt that you can mold and apply any situation you would encounter. Remember the 7 C's. The first C is about competence, the ability to handle stressful situations. How would you handle stressful situations? The second C would be confidence. Yeah? When you gain confidence, you demonstrate your competence and you know your subject well. So in order to do this, you need to read, read and read, practice, practice and practice. And the other aspect of C is about connections. Okay, I have a big heart in this. This is close to my heart. Connections is about close ties with your colleagues, close ties with your classmates, families, friends, and the community. And character, your character in enhancing your self-esteem and strength. The other aspect would be your contributions to your stakeholders, your contributions to your colleague, your contributions to your peers, your contributions to your families, your contributions to your children, and your contributions to the community. What would your contributions be? The other two would be about yourself, about your coping mechanism with stress, anger. How would you cope with your anger? How would you cope with your stress? How will you control your decision? How will you control your actions? What can you do? So this is about yourself, coping with yourself. And finally, in order to succeed, you must have the courage to take responsibility. Do not point your fingers to others. Take the responsibility, study the situation, and ask yourself, what can you do better? You should have the courage to challenge yourself again, dream big, and more importantly, take action. Stop wishing and start doing. What is the next right move? Live with open heart and take your own stand. Do not afraid to say no. And those are just the recipe for success. Thank you for listening. Madam Chairperson, I think I have finished my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Zazli, for the great presentation. And now we will continue to the fourth speaker. And we will moderate by my partner, Sherina Devi.
Thank you, Indah. Now I will introduce our fourth speaker. We have our fourth speaker here is Dr. Eric Cohen. Dr. Eric David Cohen is Brazilian, 62 years old, and lives in Sao Paulo, Brazil. He is currently professor of the undergraduate and graduate programs in business administration at State University of Campinas in Brazil. Dr. Cohen has an electrical engineering degree from St. Judas University, a master's degree in computer science from Arizona State University, an MBA from Clemson University, a doctoral degree in business administration from Fundacao Getulio Vargas, and a postdoctoral degree in quantitative methods applied to business administration from Mackenzie University. Dr. Cohen has more than 30 years of business experience in marketing and general management. He teaches various marketing and international business courses. His career includes management positions at American Express, Carrefour, Citibank, Itaú, and Unibanco Banks, Philips, Zurich Financial Services, among other firms, including international experiences in Nigeria, Italy, and the United States. After his assignment as CEO or president of Carrefour Bank, Eric served as Director of Graduate Programs at ICMEC Business School in Rio de Janeiro, Rector at Centro Universitario Curitiba, and Dean at Centro Universitario Alpha in Goiânia in Brazil. His research interests revolve around international marketing, strategy, marketing research, and quantitative methods applied to business administration. Dr. Cohen, the time is yours.
Thank you very much. It is truly a great pleasure to be here, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak to you all. I would like first to give my thanks to the organizers and extend my compliments to my colleagues, Dr. John Walsh, Dr. Zazli Whisker, Dr. Ankit Katrodia, Dr. Gilbert Baglod, and Dr. Hitapira Supraitno. As the chairperson just mentioned, I'm speaking from Brazil. We are 11 hours behind you, so it is now almost midnight here in São Paulo, where I live. And I imagine that you probably are a little bit curious about what a university in Brazil looks like. So I'd like to share a short video to you, if I may. So please bear with me.
A Faculdade de Ciências Aplicadas, que fica aqui em Limeira, é uma das mais novas da Unicamp. Nós temos 6 cursos de graduação e nenhum departamento. Ou seja, todas as conexões de conhecimento possíveis ficam mais fáceis aqui.
So this is, I apologize. I trust that you saw a little bit of my video. Did you? So what I chose to speak today to you is I chose to speak the topic of innovation with you. So can you see my screen? I believe you do, right? So I'm going to talk to you. I cannot see the chat now. So I'm going to talk to you about innovation and multidisciplinarity, okay? So what I would like to first to ask you is, do you think that innovation and new ideas are similar concepts? And when we think about it, we understand, we realize that innovation is not the same as new ideas. Although they are related, they're not necessarily the same thing. And what do I mean by that? Well, we understand that not all ideas have the potential to become an innovation. What we understand is that for something to become a potential innovation, there needs to be a few attributes, some attributes that are really important for something to become an innovation. For instance, there must be desirability, there must be feasibility, and the innovation needs to be cost effective in order to be considered an innovation. So when we talk about products or business processes or organizational innovations, it is really important to talk about what is an idea And an idea is defined as a concept, a thought, a notion, an opinion, or an invention. And when we define innovation, what do we mean by that? We start with an idea, and this idea leads to the creation of something that provides a meaningful impact for the society. So it is really important for us to talk about socio-economic impact in terms of creation of jobs, creation of wealth, efficiency, process efficiency maybe, or business efficiency, the issue of citizenship, equality, quality of life, and sustainability. Some of those concepts were discussed before by the presenters that spoke before me. So they're really important when we talk about innovation. Now, another concept that is related to innovation is the concept of entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship can be viewed as something that effectively converts an idea into an innovation. And to do that, we can use a number of tools and steps. For example, an entrepreneur may resort to business analysis, to creating business models, to validating some idea or some product innovation, to building a team, just like Dr. Lily said, to identifying sources of funds to make that product innovation feasible, and to talk about technological development. So to be an entrepreneur is not easy. As Dr. Lily just mentioned, it is really important to have resilience, to understand that creating something, generating a product innovation demands time and effort. And we also must understand that it is okay to fail. It's part of the process for some idea not to work properly. But it's really important to do it quickly, understand where we failed, and start again. So that's a key component of being an entrepreneur and creating innovation. So the other thing that is really important for us to talk is the connection between innovation and technological development. Now, by the nature of innovation and technological development, we understand that there is something that connects those two things. And the thing that connects those two things is interdisciplinarity. So for somebody to be an entrepreneur, for somebody to create a new product, we must necessarily deal with different frontiers of different fields of knowledge. It is no longer sufficient for us to be an expert in some field of knowledge and not understand other aspects of other fields of knowledge. And this is particularly true in terms of the disruptive innovations. So what are the disruptive innovations? Or what constitutes an innovation? Well, we have basically two types of innovation. One is what we call product innovation, and this is creating a new product or service that considerably improves something that already exists. And we can also make it possible by finding new ways of providing and applying functionality. And this type of innovation can be either disruptive or incremental. So an example of a disruptive innovation is Uber or other types of transportation that really redesign the way we use products and services. So there are a number of examples where technology helped us reach some disruptive innovations. For instance, for people that are from my generation, we remember that we used to use CRT screens or tube televisions. And technology has evolved so rapidly. Now we have organic LEDs, we have flexible screens, we have much better definition and intensity, and we even have the ability to interact with some of those instruments. And what's important to note is that these developments in technology were what really enabled us to see some of the disruptive innovations that we have today. So, for instance, we have in the field of entertainment, where we once had theater, cinemas, TVs. We now have we then went to VCR, to video rentals like Blockbuster and the like. And then today we have now streaming and social networks, and we have technologies such as artificial intelligence, big data, and deep learning. And these are all going to bring a lot of change to the way we entertain ourselves. So we can expect a lot of changes in our environment. So to summarize, to put it in a nutshell, technological advances from different fields of knowledge enhance the feasibility of innovations. This is really important. It's not sufficient today to be an expert in a specific field of knowledge. We need to be experts in all different fields of knowledge. Second point is that far beyond technology, which makes a product viable, a wide range of innovations are necessary to demonstrate and to teach us how to use products and services. And this is particularly true for the older generations. They need to be taught, they need to be educated on how to use and understand better uses of technology for their lives. And lastly, there's a lot of interdisciplinary knowledge linking technology itself and innovation. So to summarize, all of those things are important when we talk about innovation and entrepreneurship and multidisciplinarity. And it's really important for young professionals, academics, researchers to understand those things, that those things are really important for us in the future. Lastly, since we are all involved in some kind of some form of research, it's important to understand how universities and firms and governments work together. This is a concept that is known as the triple helix. So the intersection between firms and government and academia is something of great concern to us. Government plays a big role in funding, in helping, in providing infrastructure for firms. Academia is really important for in terms of providing skills and knowledge for firms to use in their research, in their product development. And those three counterparts are crucial for the development of the innovation ecosystem. So I'm reaching the end of my presentation, but it's important to understand that there is an ecosystem. There is a multitude of shareholders, of stockholders that are important for us. When we talk about knowledge, about the public, about companies, about habitats, development agencies that are important to fund, to support innovation, institutions, and the society at large. And they are all part of this big ecosystem where you have academia developing research, providing this knowledge to the firms, the firms investing in research and development, developing products, processes, and services, and feeding back to the university. University is training people, creating talent that can be used by firms, by the government. And the university is also providing a lot of input for the startups and generating intellectual property. These are all parts of a big system, and all the parts are important for the development of innovation activities for one another. So, in a nutshell, universities are a very important part of the innovation ecosystem. Through strong links, they develop talent, they produce innovation, and a path for entrepreneurship. Innovation is something that is very interdisciplinary by nature, and the technology innovation centers play an essential role by promoting a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship. And they bring together intellectual property, licensing, technology offers, creation, and sheltering of new companies into academia. And with that, I end my presentation. I thank you very much for listening, and I'm really looking forward to hearing your feedback and answering questions you may have. And thank you all for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much for Dr. Cohen for the great explanation about ideas and innovation, yeah, and innovation ecosystem. For all online audience, I inform you again that you can ask your question in question and answer tab. And for offline audience, you can raise your hand at our question and answer session later after all keynote speakers finish their presentation. And now I would like to introduce you our next keynote speaker. There is Gilbert C. Maguire, Jr., PhD. He is presently the University Director for Knowledge and Technology Management of the Research, Development, and Extension of Cagayan State University, Tuguegarao City, and concurrently the Campus Research Coordinator of Cagayan State University at Lasap. He is an associate professor. He has published numerous research articles indexed in Scopus, Clarivate Analytics, and ASEAN Citation Index journal. He has an H index of 6 and I-10 index of 4. Dr. Maguire has presented researches in various international, national, and regional research conferences and symposia, and was awarded Best Research Presenter and Best Research Paper awardee. He was awarded Distinguished Faculty Researcher or in Social Science category. He presently served as editor, guest editor, and reviewer for various SSCI Web of Science Index and Scopus Elsevier journals. For Gilbert C. Maguire, Jr., PhD, the time is yours.
Thank you very much, everyone. To our participants and, of course, the organizer and my co-speakers for today. Mabuhay, meaning long live. The Tagalog word of long live is mabuhay in the Philippines. So greetings from the beautiful island of the Philippines, and of course, to the beautiful country of Indonesia. Allow me to share my presentation. Professor Eric Cohen is talk about the ecosystem, the synergy of the academe, the government, and of course, the firms. Now, on my part, I will be providing a somewhat synonymous concept, but we will be focusing on the community-based participatory research design as a way to translate research results into action and practice towards global sustainability or local sustainability. We have what we call the reality and expectation that the research we generate are the new knowledge, and we expect that this research knowledge we generate should be able to put into practice and action. And Anton Chekhov said that knowledge is of no value unless you put it into practice. So this is a link between knowledge to practical application, the link between what is to what should be. There are situations and gaps we have that, particularly in Asian countries and might be in other continents of the world, that 70% of research papers, even the thesis and dissertations they generate, preferably coming from undergraduate, graduate students, teachers, and professors, are not really utilized. And somewhat, these research outputs are buried deeply in reports and are transmitted into real practice, commonly called as file drawer problem. And many relevant research results did not reach their target audience with the kind of culture existing in the academic community. And this is the reason that we will be having an orientation on how we will be able to bridge the gap between the research knowledge to what we call research application. Regardless of what kind of research we have, whether it's a basic research and or applied research, we try to look at the product, the processes or information we generate. And this information should be able to benefit the people, because we do research for the people. We do research for development, for sustainable development. And with this, we look at the outcomes of research. In our country, we have the 6 Ps. This is actually the 6 Ps in our country. We're in results. The outcomes of research must be able to provide the following Ps. The first P is all about the publication, and that's actually the Scopus or Web of Science journals, the articles we generate. The second one will be the patent. This is actually the inventions, the knowledge, the materials we developed, and of course, the research to policy outcomes. This is bridging the result of research to the government's intervention with regards to how we will be able to implement better services for the people. Is it a research-based concern? And of course, product when we talk of business, because we do research because for product development, for technological innovation, and this must have commercial value. And of course, another outcome will be people services as we increase the scientific workforce in our country, in our region, in Southeast Asian region, or in other continents of the world. And of course, putting more facilities, places, and partnership like this we have now, the International Conference on Project Management. Now, as we go through the process, we have what we call the Global Innovation Index. And here, I got the index from my country, the Philippines, improves in Global Innovation Index ranking, because global innovation among countries are ranked based on the 6 criteria. First, the knowledge and technology outputs we generate, the sophistication of the businesses, the creative outputs, the human capital and research, and of course, the market sophistications and the institution. And it's undeniably, it's really a way for countries to reach what they call social, global or sustainable development on their part. So in 2020, Switzerland ranked first, followed by Sweden, USA, United Kingdom, and the rest of the first world countries. So, of course, in BRICS countries, these are actually what they are focusing on: innovation, on product development, on research. Where in Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa have what we call the BRICS countries are coming together for the economic development. And BRIC is an acronym for this developing nation believed to be the future dominant suppliers of the manufactured goods, services, and raw material by 2050. So sound what for development, okay? So now in our part, in the academia, Professor Cohen noted a while back the triple helix, which actually the innovation ecosystem. And for research innovations in the academia, we have this role. We transmit knowledge, we create knowledge, and this knowledge are the public knowledge resource for the community. And we have what we call the opportunities as teachers, educators, that we do not only contribute to the existing body of knowledge, but we address the practical gaps and concerns of the society through our research information, systems, processes, tangible products, and technologies. And we translate the result of our research to improve the living standards of the community, which is actually, I will be focusing in the next slides. And of course, the paradigm today is that the focus from being a research university into becoming an entrepreneurial university by fostering innovation. Moving on. So let's try to look at the challenges in education we have, because results and findings have shown that there is a poor dissemination, availability, and appropriation of these research findings to the community, as well as the means that research outputs have not been able to translate into the development indices, particularly in the education sector for sustainable development. What can we do? What should be done about it? Okay, so as part of my topic, I will be providing you an orientation on the use of community-based participatory research, which we call it as the CBPR for project or research management. And this is actually a way to transform research paradigm into bridging the gap between science and practice through community engagement and social action. At the start of a research problem, we already engage the community, we already introduce innovation to the community, and that becomes a way that the results of our researches will be adopted by this community. So the use of the CBPR is one concern that I'd like to tell today. So what should be done? The use of CBPR is, we call it as sometimes community-based research, participatory action research, or community-based participatory action research. It involves forming the partnership with non-academic stakeholders to execute a research project or a project based on the particular community identified problem or issue. So we only partner. We do not only partner to the government, to the agencies, but we also partner to the stakeholders who will really benefit from the results of our study or results of our research. And determining the problem or issue involves the process of coming together, starting with a general topic, identifying your stakeholders for the project, and collaborately identify the problem or issue, then conduct literature review, and craft the problem or issue statement. And I hope that this CBPR will be able to address the deplorable condition why research results are not really being adopted or utilized. So this is actually a paradigm, a figure showing the community-based participatory research contribution and intervention. It all starts with the context, then partnership and processes, after which the intervention and research, and of course the outcomes, whether it's an intermediate or a long-term outcome of our research or projects. Moving on, I'd like to tell that the principles of CBPR starts with acknowledging the community as a unit of identity. So when we talk of sustainable development, we find that many people or many in area, they cut trees So the problem may be the environmental degradation, or doing illegal logging, or erosion, or whatever environmental issues we have. And let's try to acknowledge the community as a unit of identity. And from that, we build strengths and resources with that community, facilitates collaboration, partnership in all phases of the research. Then we foster co-learning and capacity building among all our partners, a balance between the knowledge generation and to the intervention for the mutual benefit of the partners. Then we focus on the local relevance of, for example, if it's public health issue, then attend to the multiple determinants of health. Then community involvement in dissemination of results, which involve long-term process and commitment. So what I would like to tell you is that CBPR starts with, we do not only think of the research within ourselves, but when we do a research, when we do something that we would like to explore with, let's try to ask first the stakeholders, identify first who will really benefit from our study, then plan with them, then later on execute the project. Because the issue here is we were traditionally taught that when you do research, we just only think of the problem ourselves and do the literature review. But through CBPR, we go to the community, we analyze the needs of the community, we plan with them, we partner with them, we execute intervention in their community. And of course, number one will be identifying the general topic. What topic will it be? Mapping out the stakeholders and community partners. Meaning to say, at the start of the research problem, we already engage these stakeholders, these communities to be partners for the execution of our research or for the implementation of our research project. And number three, collaboratively identify the problem, then conduct literature review, and collaboratively craft the problem or issue statement. Now, so this is actually the figure how a community-based participatory research can be executed. So it entails a strong partnership and stakeholders' participation to the community before we identify the problem or issue. So there are techniques. I will make it very short. For technique one, first establish the problem or issue with the stakeholders by mapping them. So what might be the possible problem on sustainable global sustainability, on the protection of our planet, on the protection of our environment. So let's try to collaborate with agencies who are directly engaged with this issue on environment. For example, the Department of Environment and Natural Science, the Department of Agriculture, or whatever agencies who are putting regulatory function with regards to the problem or issue or that environmental concern we have. Then with them, you try to talk with them, map up with them, and let's try to get data from them, because this will soon justify the rationale of our research problem. Then your professional network will assist you locate possible partners, begin by developing working relationship. So first is study, make with a partnership with the agencies, and let's try to get information from them. And that's the start of what we call community-based organization. So this is actually the basic step for CBPR. Create first your community-based organization. Okay, then we have an example there. It's contextualized to education that when we have a problem on bullying, we identify the following stakeholders: the teachers, student parents, the guidance counselor work, social workers, school admin, and others to be part of our research in the conceptualization phase. Okay, so take note that the stakeholders are those parties who have vested interest in your research topic. And they will be able to help you as you go through the investigation, as you go through the process of data gathering. Then once you have a team in place, try also to look at the value of the project. How will you be able to see the multiple stakeholders' needs and perspectives? So create a partnership with them, meet with them, get data from them, what is happening in your community, how many areas were destroyed or damaged due to these environmental issues or calamities, and a way to get data right from the community. Then that's actually technique 2, establish problem with the stakeholders. Next, for technique 3, you will be able now, as you form the group, you already map out the specific topic you would like to address, the concern you would like to address, then go to literature review, get data from the global, continental, national, regional, or local studies, what these studies are telling about the topic, are telling about environmental sustainability, are telling about environmental protection. So a way to localize the research problem. Because basically, the problem we have in our communities have its global perspective, global issues. That's why when you do research, we try to identify first the global problem, charting down to the local problem. So in order to present a holistic review of the current and of course the landmark research related to the central problem. For example, what are the theories on social development or theories on sustainable development? Okay, so that's actually technique 3. Then, of course, as you go through the literature review, you try to localize your research problem because you will get theories, laws, and principles governing the problem you identify, the international local literature about the problem and its solutions, and international local studies conducted about the problem and its solutions. So you go to Google Scholar, you go to Google Patents if it's for applied research. You go for open access directory journal to find what are the studies about fishing, about climate change in your continent, in your country, or in the world. And of course, you can go to Semantic Scholar. Okay, that's one way to localize your research, starting from the global, going down to the local context. Then, of course, the technique for CBPR will stand with what we call this process of involving or bringing members of the community of interest to the development process to create a community-generated research questions. Moving on, and that's what we call technique 4. And of course, technique 5 is implementing the research and its implementation. The philosophy of CBPR is transformative in nature, understanding the ethics, knowing what will be the design and methods for your research, whether quantitative or qualitative, the data analysis, and the expected outcomes or outputs. Of course, the proposed budget or timeline resource, data gathering and interpretation. And of course, this will be the last part will be on the process of disseminating results. So how will you be able to bring this research, the results of your research to the community better? So you will have a representation and dissemination. Remember that in order to benefit the relevant stakeholders, the audiences for your project, accessibility is paramount. 2 aspects of research findings must be accessible, their content and their distribution. First, the finding need to be understandable by translating the results of your research into the language of the community, the vernacular form, not only for English language, but of course, the language that they have. Then second, the findings need to be distributed to channels to which identified audiences have access. And the materials developed are generated from research must be copyrighted before actual utilization and dissemination. So this is actually a sort of putting intellectual property to our community-based participatory research. And of course, there are channels wherein we can put research results into action and practice through proper representation and dissemination. We can have the local organization, business schools, the radio, the internet, the local or national newspapers. We can present our results at the public meeting or in community location or other venues like to reach the target audiences. What I would like to tell you about CBPR is that it's too late for the researcher that after the conduct of the research, he will go to these agencies and tell the findings of the study. In CBPR is that at the start of the research problem or crafting of the title, you already engage these agencies so that there will be a full utilization of the results of the study. And of course, the research findings may be represented in multiple formats like pamphlets, newsletter, brochure, community board posting, podcasts, blogs, online essays, performances, poetry or spoken word readings, documentary films, visual art or photography. And remember that it's a way for us that another important aspect of our research results should be translated into policy. Public policies are plans of action that they carry widespread consequences for the communities that they have impacted. Imagine if the product of our research are being adopted by legislative bodies, by the government, and they can create policy from our research. That's actually a way to transform communities towards sustainable living. And CBPR projects can therefore be designed to examine the impact of the current policies on particular communities and how those policies could improve for public good. Okay, so what I'm showing to you is will be the pictures of the policy studies that were translated into the policy. I got this from the Department of Science and Technology in our country. So what I'm showing you is a study on the impact assessment of closed fishing season policy for sardines in the Visayan Sea. And they were able to come up with a policy brief, and it was adopted by the community. It was adopted by the municipality. That's why they were able to have a fishing closure policy in their area. Okay. Then another one is studies on mangrove conservation. So this is actually a product of research that is being translated into policy and practice. Then, of course, an author from one university developed the easiest way of potting vegetables through potting them in a vertical area. We call it as enriched potting preparation. That's actually a product of research and already utilized by the different schools in the country. And of course, studies on cacao, they were able to find the insects affecting the growth performance, yield performance of cacao production. And they were able to come up with a guide for the farmers so that they will be able to be guided on the natural enemies of cacao. Of course, a way to foster global sustainability, environmental protection is coming up with a compendium of the food and non-food resources in the country. And of course, thank you. That ends my presentation. So thank you. Terima kasih, Indonesia.
Okay, thank you very much. Terima kasih, Dr. Megila, for the explanation about how we disseminate and utilize our research findings. I think participatory research. Now let's move to our last keynote speaker. We have Dr. Ankita here. Let me introduce you. Currently, Dr. Ankita is working with Northwest University, Faculty of Economic and Management Science at the Mafeking campus, South Africa. He has completed a postdoctoral research fellowship, University of KwaZulu-Natal, at Graduate School of Business and Leadership, Durban, Africa. Qualified PhD in Management, MBA Marketing, MCOM Marketing, and postgraduate in Human Resources Management. An accomplished and enthusiastic academician with over 12 years of experience in academia and research at renowned management institutes. He has a successful track record of educating and training management graduates, developing skills and expertise in marketing management, service marketing, consumer behavior, strategic management, entrepreneurship, and other business management subjects. Okay. For Dr. Ankit Katrudia, the time is yours.
Very good morning to one and all. Thank you for providing me this opportunity. Before I start my presentation, I would like to know from you that my voice is clear. Can you hear me properly? Is everything is fine from my side? Can you please confirm?
Yes, we can hear you properly.
And you can also see my screen as well.
Yes.
All right. Once again, very good morning from all the way to South Africa. And in this today's conference, I'm going to speak about industry organization, the scenario after the post-COVID-19 growth. What are the strategies an institute or organization need to develop or redesign in order to achieve a growth of the organization? So this problem from last 2 years, it's not only a country from India or South Africa or Philippines. The way we are now facing a global crisis, that is the pandemic COVID-19. And nowadays, we are coming out of this pandemic day by day, but still there are many organizations, they are not recovering successfully after this pandemic. So today my speech is all about strategies for the growth of business. It can be a small business, it can be a family business, or it can be a multinational corporation. So the first thing I would like to highlight is all about company should embark the culture and behavior shift that COVID-19 introduced. Nowadays, health and safety and security come foremost, and then after it followed by profit. So you need to redesign your marketing, you need to redesign your promotional activities, which can emphasize more about customer consumer protection. Not only the profit can be the aim of your organization, then it can be you need to redesign segmentation, targeting, and positioning of your marketing activities, because this play a very vital role in order to do marketing promotional activities. Then the third one is to change in structure, behavior, and technology. This is a very important concept because in the organizational behavior, you need to redesign the structure, hierarchy of your organization, as well as the behavior of your stakeholder within your organization, and the technology which is associated with your organization. Then we all are now into the digital world. Look at the today's conference. We all are situated to the different parts of the world, but now we are connected and sharing our knowledge and ideas. So e-commerce, online, new education, and technological friendly, these are the new phenomenon of the language of the education, language of the business. And the smart company will have to adopt a proactive approaches to understand the change into the society and change into the consumer need. So These are some of the highlight of my today's presentation is that going digitally. Now each of us need to understand technology very well, how to go with the Google Classroom, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Skype, and many more, because each institute has their own teaching and learning methodology. So we as an academician need to learn a new technology which can, open our learning opportunities, then increase the demand for e-commerce. Now the most important is a technology-based learning. Each and every people of the society need to know how to do mobile banking, how to buy online shopping, and how to take a lecture or how to help the students. Everything is now on e-commerce. New ways of working. Look at the today. Time difference in South Africa, India, but though we are now on a common platform to make this conference, more successful. Then sustainable growth. Previously, only the profit maximization and the wealth maximization, the only objectives of the businesses, but now there are the many more objectives of the business, such as corporate social responsibility and corporate citizenship and sustainable development. So these are the new ways of objectives of any businesses, and of course corporate social responsibilities. So the question will come into our mind is that what should be the business looks like into the near future? What the model each business should redesign in order to get a more customers? So answer is that there will be expected to be ready for a new norm, and business in the near future cannot be returned to the normal. So you need to design an exit strategy. You need to design a online campaign of your services, as well as your product, as well as your entire business model. You need to reframe so that you can achieve your organizational success. Then business organization will be called upon a reinvent with a new objectives, marketing strategies, as well as human resource, financial, and so. And new technology, new boundaries are likely to be emerged, and the survival of the business is depend on both reaction and response, and business need to be a faster solution to the customer complaint. Very important concept in the marketing is the customer is the king of the market, we all know. And nowadays, because of the competition in the market, customer relationship management play a very important role. So you need to understand how to maintain a good relationship with my client, and then after we need to know customer retentionship strategy, how to make a good relationship with my existence client, my customer. And always keep in mind that innovation is the key success for business growth and development. So nowadays research and development as well as innovation both are two sides of one coin. You need to make a good innovation of your product, good innovation of your services, and innovation is the continuous process for any businesses. And you need to rebuild your brand. You also need to rebuild the trust of your employees and many more. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can see on the screen what has been changed, priority then and priority now. So previously the profit was the aim of any business, but now the sustainability is the key success for businesses. Then management only has a decision-making power, and now ethical leadership required for the any organization. Previously was the self-interested business activities, and nowadays creating a value for the customer. Look at the next is the limited communication between the buyers and sellers, between your stakeholder, between your supplier, but now a multiple mode of communication between your business parties. It can be your supplier, customer, competitors, or anything else. Previously there was a predefined work, but now you need to understand the customized work of your businesses. You need to be very flexible, when it comes to the businesses. Now previously the qualification was the most important, like for this job you have to have a MBA or master degree or PhD, but nowadays job qualification is important, but competency, how skilled and smart person you are, that is very important nowadays. So again, this is the just a repetition of my previous slide into a different format, nothing new in this. Now, very important, I would like to highlight here is that many people are losing the job, and unemployment is rising day by day. So people are now without job. So the most important task for any business is to how to make a good relationship with the customer, and the answer is empathy, personalization, time and efforts, expectation, resolution, and integrity. These six are the dimension which can bring to the customer relationship management, empathy with your customer, personalization of with your customer, time and efforts, and the integrity. Now coming to the how to adjust with the near future, is to operate a business into the new dimension which has never before. And time is now most important. How speed, how accurate your business service, your business process re-engineering, we called as BPR, business process re-engineering. What about the internet, intranet and extranet, e-commerce model? These are the new phase of the businesses day by day. So these are the adjust to the future is the adopt a new way of working, improve the contact center manager, and automate the services of your businesses. So we are living into a developing nation like a Philippines, India, South Africa. So our problem of the society is very different than the problem of the developed nation. So we need to also support the initiative by the local government in order to re-establishment of the businesses. Export and import, also play a very important role. What about the natural resources the country has? Then after, we also need to improve the education level of our country, and so that we can also start entrepreneurship opportunities within our countries. So, my dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of my today's presentation. And into the summary, I would like to say is that the whole world will come out from this pandemic very soon. We have to wait for the right time. And until and unless we need to continue innovation into the education, innovation into the production, and innovation into the marketing as well as the manufacturing units. And once again, I would like to thank you for providing me this opportunity, and I would like to take a question if you have any. So thank you so much.
For Dr. Ankit Katrodia. And thank you very much to all keynote speakers for their informative and interesting talks. Now we will start our Q&A session. For offline audience here, is there any question? You can raise your hand. Yes.
Thank you for the chance. My question is delivered to the first keynote speaker about the deglobalization. Actually, COVID-19 is not only brings the social movement and also not only change the consumption style, but also it brings international trade level changing too. So actually, your topic is talking about the globalization right now become another fairness for the government actually. So in the first time we fear about the COVID-19, and right now we have a new fairness that is the globalization. As some paper found that COVID-19 brings the globalization come faster, and in the condition most of countries force the production in the domestic side as the economic recovery, and they tend to keep the product rather than they doing the export. And in case we realize that some countries has abundant resources and some countries do not have the resources, or they have just little resources. So if most countries decrease their export to keep their supply in the for the country itself, so it will intervene the global economic condition in international level. And so please kindly your opinion actually facing this new fairness to recover the economy in the global level, because it's like if we export our supply, so our domestic will need it. So the government will decide to keep the supply rather than doing the export, and it will intervene the international trade level. And the second one, I would like to ask for to Lily. Actually, asking who am I is very interesting for the young people, especially for millennial people, because some of my students actually felt divine who they are, and what you mentioned actually that defining ourselves first is very important. And as the economist, I'm thinking right now that defining who am I is truly important in seeking and choosing the job. And you mentioned also that that is the passion. So my question is, when actually the right time we should define ourselves and finding the passion, then it will determine the skill and the millennial young generation future to decrease the unemployment for the better economic world. Thank you.
Is this question to me, Dr. Katrodia?
I think that was to John Walsh, to Professor Walsh.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your question. Let me say that deglobalization is if it is going to take place as part of a longer term trend and it's not reliant entirely on COVID, although COVID has accentuated some of its features. I don't think it's always going to be a good thing. So deglobalization will mean decoupling of some markets and some forms of production. And so countries which are in the emerging markets, which are involved in assembly and manufacturing, are going to be left behind. And many of those countries are also highly reliant on tourism. And if people from the global north are going to turn away from tourism because of the carbon cost, then that's also going to be a negative impact on emerging markets in particular. So in response to COVID, yes, countries are doing what they can to build up both supply and demand, and that means exporting as much as possible while it's still possible to do so. But in the longer term, I think we will see changes in the relationship between import and export markets determined by the deglobalization forces, which will have, as I say, mainly, well, both mixed results, right? Some positive and some negative. So I hope that's answered at least part of your question. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Professor John Wells, for the first question. Is that clear, Miss? Yeah. And for the second question for Dr.
Lily.
Yeah.
I just couldn't turn on my video now, but I will answer your questions anyway. For some reason, I just couldn't turn on my video. It says that the host has turned it off. So yeah. So is it possible for the host to turn it on my video, or to allow me to have
already.
my
Dr. Lily?
Yeah.
Already.
Okay, well, anyway, right, about finding yourself. There were two questions, right? So one is about finding yourself. Yes, of course, you know, it will take some time to find yourself, and it takes some time to kind of like look for what you're passionate is about, and of course, when we talk about our passions, what we're passionate about, you have to balance it out with the resources that you have. You have to balance it out with the opportunities out there. Okay, now for example, now you are so passionate to become a successful entrepreneurship, for example, yet there's limited resources for that. Yet you know that the economy does not allow you to do that. Okay, probably you could start small with your passions, or you do something that complement your passions. Okay, so I guess my answer to you when we talk about passion and what you're passionate about is that you always need to balance it out with the resources out there. Okay, look at the resources. What have you got? What have you not have? You know, and balance it out, and that's how you work through your passions. Okay, if you Google, you know, some of these successful entrepreneurs, for example, or some of these you know, well-known celebrities, you know, they don't always start with what they really want to do. They always start with something small, something that that complement their end goal, or their purpose, their what they want to do, and they work through that. You know, you work small. So I guess my point is that first you need to look at your resources. Second, you need to start small and work through that. You know, for example, you want to be a professor, you want to be a well-known speaker, you know, obviously you don't have any experience and all that. You start with small. Okay, you may you know, start as a tutor, and then you work through that. Or you really want to be a good entrepreneurship, and you don't have the resources and all that. You always start with small. Turn your hobby into something that can bring income, for example, and that's how you kind of like in the end you can reach your goals. So I hope that sort of like address that. Obviously, I do understand that the millennials, even my daughter is like that. You want to achieve something, you want to straight away wanting to be what you want to be, and you don't want to do something else. That's not what I meant. That's not what I meant when I say about your passions. Okay. But of course, your passion is also about your skills. You will always start small. Okay, I suppose that's kind of like the answers to your questions.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Lily. That clear also? Yeah. Okay, for the next session, for the next question, if there is offline audience who want to ask to our keynote speakers, yes, please.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Johan. I have two questions. Actually, I want to hear experience from these wonderful speakers. First, my first question will go to Dr. Kohan. Yes, Dr. Kohan. It's interesting to hear a topic about innovation ecosystem. So my question probably about your experience and your suggestion. Do you have any suggestion or experience to share with us regarding some organization that quite rigid? So probably organization like public sectors. So where's the camera? Okay. So do you have any experience to share with us about how to encourage innovation ecosystem in public sector, for example? That kind of sector is quite rigid. So to encourage or to nurture innovation is quite challenging. So that's my first question. The second question will go to Dr. Gilbert. My question is, it's very interesting to see how you elaborate community-based participatory research. My question is, how do you ensure that one single CBPR, community-based participatory research, satisfy all the 6 Ps? Okay, I mean, like, I could tell that from providing context to the outcome, it will have different requirements first, and the second, they also have different audience. So for one single CBPR, how can you make sure that all the publication, the patents, I forget the other 4, could satisfy all of them? I can see that you show us the example of policy brief. I wonder what kind of the policy brief in the form of patent. So one single CBPR can satisfy all of the 6 Ps. It would be great for me to hear the experience from you. I think that's from me. I'll go back to the moderator. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for the question. And for the first question for Dr. Cohen about experience in public sector, please.
Yes. What I can tell you is a little bit about the experiences that we have in Brazil. There are a number of institutions and organizations that are publicly funded and that stimulate and support innovation. For instance, there is a foundation for research projects that is funded by the state of São Paulo, where I live, and it's a government body that provides funds and support and infrastructure for innovation projects. And then the second example I would mention to you is a center for innovation that we have in my own university. It's a very well-developed center. They provide support for patent development, for funding, for relationship with the industry, for a number of initiatives that they develop. It's a very well succeeded project. In fact, in the area that surrounds the university, there are hundreds of companies that are called the spin-offs of the university. So there are like hundreds of companies that were supported by this innovation center, and they received help and support from the university. The university put them together with funding institutions, like banks or governments, that help them develop those new products. They also provide services like patents, intellectual property rights, the structure for developing projects and business feasibility. So those are the experiences that I can mention to you that are public and that are available in my own university and in the state government. I hope I answered your question. Did I?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Cohen. Now for the second question is delivered to Dr. Gilbert about CBPR. Doctor?
Thank you very much. Okay, may I reiterate the question given by the gentleman in Bali, Professor? How do you ensure that CBPR can satisfy all the 6 Ps? My answer to that question is that it's not really necessary that in CBPR you need to address all the 6 outcomes of research, but at least you have the partnership, you have the people services, you have the policy, and you have the partnership established to that community. And all of these are outcomes of research. So in a single CBPR, it may not really address all the 6 outcomes, but it can address 3 to 4 outcomes. That depends upon the nature of the study or the nature of CBPR we are conducting. So for example, you are conducting a CBPR on the environmental protection of the community, then perhaps you will be able to get policy and partnership to the community, as well as policy on how to improve their living standards and policy on how to protect the environment in their area. And the follow-up question you provided is the policy brief I presented. That's actually a funded study in the Philippines on the hatchment, the fishery sector, wherein they were able to develop community livelihood to the people. So they provided the policy, they conducted the study in the community, and they found out that people are fishing, and that's the reason why fish in that area are not really sustainable. So they provided months for them to stop fishing and provided intervention for livelihood to this community. So with that, you will be able to know that CBPR is also focusing on the development of a policy that could not only help the community, but a way to preserve the livelihood of the people, particularly on the protection of the environment. And of course, CBPR is a way to really translate the results, the action of our research into practice. Like the word climate change. Climate change has been a word coined by US scholars. And it's actually a word that becomes a word that becomes useful today because climate change is a concern. So a way that research is really translated into practice, action, and concept. I hope, and of course, one thing more, when we talk of CBPR, product of researches may include maybe in the form of applied research or in the form of basic research. So whatever the research you can establish or you can implement in your area, see to it that there are really ready communities who will really adopt the results of your research. I hope I was able to answer your question. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Gilbert. Okay. For the next question, is there any question from offline audience? Oh yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to me. My name is Girang Pramata Gusti from Pontianak, Indonesia. I have question from to Prof. John Walsh. In your point of view, what is the update issue related to the behavioral finance or related to behavioral consumer regarding COVID-19 outbreak? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your question. I think the main issue is there's a lot of people in a lot of different countries who have become used to kind of lockdown culture and being at home and not interacting personally with other people. And many of those people are reluctant to resume the previous life of going around meeting people, handing cash, doing things face to face, and have become more accustomed to the delivery platform of retail mechanism, and will want to continue that into the future. So both in terms of behavioral finance and in consumer goods, I think that the withdrawal of the individual from personal contact is going to be central to how things change in the future. And many companies, smart companies, will realize this and will tailor their services and their goods to make sure that people don't need to have personal contact if they don't wish to have it. And so we will see an expansion of e-commerce opportunities, contactless payment, other forms of non-personal interaction on a business level, organizational level. This will spur the digitalization of many companies which otherwise would not have felt the need to do so. And so SMEs, even in emerging markets, will see the need to deal effectively with stakeholders at a distance through this kind of video technology and other opportunities to track what is going on around the world without the face-to-face interaction that we were used to in the past. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Professor John. For Mr. Gira, is that clear? Okay. Yeah. For the next question, if there is question from the offline audience, is there any question? Okay, while waiting for the offline audience, we will ask from the Q&A in online session, online audience. Okay. Okay, from the Q&A tab in our Zoom meeting, there's a question from Kurniawan Norat. The question is for Professor John Wells. The question, an exciting presentation from Professor Wells. I'm interested in the slide that mentioned the new international division of labors, which is related to my research. Regarding this, what is your opinion about an agile organization for organizational structure development in the context of globalization sustainability, especially for the target of SDG 16.6, develop effective, accountable, and transparent institutions at all levels? Thanks and stay healthy, Prof. Okay, Professor John, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the question. The basic model of economic development has two stages, right, for a nation. First is import substitution, so producing things at home, keeping resources within the home economy, and countries can reach a reasonable level of economic development through that approach. So domestic focus on domestic production and subsequently export promotion. But the second stage, the beyond the middle income trap stage, is innovation. And innovation is how countries which will move from manufacturing and exporting move to exporting of capital and exporting of ideas and so forth. And it's in this second stage where it is particularly necessary to have high level competency among workers, employees, employers, people at all levels. And so agile companies are in particular looking to take advantage of opportunities to export intellectual property and intellectual capital and so forth. And this can be done in parallel with an export promoting country, or it can also be done directly through a global startup or a born global concept where companies from any country can see themselves as active around the world from a very early stage. So these things are essential. So therefore, it is incumbent upon governments, and not just government, but government stakeholders, including companies and individuals, depending on the form of labor market regime employed, to ensure that people have the opportunity to reach these competencies and to experience them. In Anglo-Saxon countries like Britain or America, then it is the individual who has to provide these things for himself or herself. In continental Europe, for example, governments and companies will work together to identify necessary skills and then to provide them for the people. In East Asian style labor market regime, then government will identify particular companies and ask them to do the work for them in terms of training and providing experience for relevant employees. So depending on which situation you are in, governments will work to provide or to ensure the provision of these skills and competencies, which are very necessary, and as you pointed out, part of the SDGs as a vital part of the second part of economic development through innovation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor. About sustainability development goals, already explained by Professor John. And for the next question in our online audience.
Okay, we have a question here in Q&A tab from Kurniawan Norat. Okay, this question is delivered to Dr. Katrudia. Kurniawan said here, excellent presentation from Dr. Katrudia. In your opinion, how you see the new ways of working for customized work using agile organization integrated with the electronic-based government system for public services? Thank you and keep healthy. Okay, for Dr. Ankit Katrudia, maybe Dr. Ankit. Okay, sorry, there is a technical issue. Okay.
Okay, I think there is a connection internet problems. And while waiting for the Dr. Ankit, I want to ask to Dr. Hita.
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Hita, one problem that you stated before in your presentation is about pollution, right? From program for Nation Road, is there any way to solve it about the National Road program that you stated before? Thank you.
Can you please very not too loud? Can you ask me again, please?
Okay. Yeah. Okay, Dr. Hita.
Yeah.
One problem that you stated before is about pollution from program.
Pollution.
Yeah, pollution. One problem that you stated before from the
Yeah.
program for National Road.
Mhm.
Is there any way to solve this from that program?
Yes, pollution. There are two pollutions. Pollutions of gas pollution, and voice pollution. In Indonesia, it's not yet well treated, the pollution in national road. So So that's all what I can say about pollution. Is there any questions?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hita. As we know, the pollution is one of the biggest problem in our country.
Right.
Yeah. While we are waiting for the online or offline audience questions. Okay, for the offline audience, is there any questions? Okay, I think the last question I want to ask to Dr. Lily.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, but your you said that your research, your patient in your presentation, right? Which one do you prefer, doctor? Be good in one topics that you already know well, or try another topics? I think it's about go out from the comfort zone. Which one do you prefer? Thank you.
Well, remember, one of the recipe for success that I mentioned is about think big. Okay, so I would say that the second, the later, not the first. I would say that you need to get into many areas if you like. But of course, let's say your background is in business or in marketing, you are not going to do engineering, are you? The most you're probably going to do something to do with sustainability in marketing or sustainability in business. Yeah. If you look at a lot of if you just sort of like a Google any citations from any big professors out there, you can see that they do not just stick to one particular areas. They embark to different areas, and also you get some research that complement each other. For example, if you do take an example of you do in cross-cultural marketing. Okay, in a cross-cultural marketing, you probably do a little bit of religiosity, a little bit about ethnicity. So that's all complement each other. So don't just go to one, because if you just go to one particular aspect, it's too niche, it's too focus, and then sometimes you can't really sort of be sort of like a little bit flexible, a little bit. Yeah. I would say that, yeah, go as many, but then something that is related to you, not something that completely totally out of your reach, really. So yeah, so that would be my answer based from my experience and also looking at all my colleagues' publications.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Lily, for sharing your experience. Okay, I think that's all about our Q&A session.
Okay. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for all the interesting questions. And thank you very much as well for our 6 keynote speakers today for the great explanation and interesting presentations. Right after this, we will move to the parallel section. All presenters can go to certain Zoom room as it's written and based on the schedule. And after the session chair is finished, all presenters can come back to the main Zoom room. For offline presenters, we invite you to take a break and have lunch. You are required to go to the presentation room at 13:35 Bali time. Thank you very much for your attention.